My name is Mark Smith, and I pastor the Faith Baptist Church in Tacoma, Washington. And what we're here for is to give you a visual presentation of the history of how we got our Bible into the English language. Now, it doesn't cover everything because there's an awful lot to cover, but we try to cover that aspect of the English translation of the Bible as carefully as we can. Back in 2010, we were challenged by a pastor who was preaching for us in a conference that in 2011 we were going to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the King James Bible in the English language. And he said, as far as I know, no one is going to do anything significant for this celebration. But if somebody could do something, I think you could. Our church has an extensive printing ministry and graphic arts development ministry, and we print the Bible and New Testament and tracts and things, and so we thought we would take up his challenge and see what we could do. And so what we did was, the first thing we created was this. It's a 16-page folio, and what it is just a panel of material that you can stand in front of a classroom setting, whether it's a public school, Christian school, or whether it's in a Sunday school, and you can stand and you can teach the history of the Bible, showing them a facsimile of an original first edition Bible in the line of the translation. In addition to that is an information and background, so it gives you something visual while you're teaching on how we got our Bible. And there's 16 different panels that we put together that are all used for that purpose, and they came together in what we call a portfolio presentation set. The second thing was, we had to write a little bit of a book that would give you the background on how we got our Bible. So it has to be easier to understand than most of the materials out there because they're pretty complicated. So we very carefully put together a series of graphs and charts that show the progression of how we got the Bible from its beginning into the English Bible that we have in our hands today. So this was the second thing we produced. And then from this we began to produce, because we realized something. Many of these Bibles in the line of the history of our Bible are very rare Bibles. Some of them are down to where there's only 1, 2, or 3 copies in the world. So the chances of you and I actually seeing them are pretty slim. And so what we believed was, if we could get access to those Bibles, we could digitally reproduce those files, we could actually make a facsimile of the original Bible. So in 2010, somewhere around here, where'd it go? Anybody? There it is. In 2010, we began work on the first facsimile of an actual King James 1611 Bible. Now, how many of you ever seen a 1611 Bible before? Anybody? Do I have somebody has? Usually we have one, at least one. Where'd you see yours at?
Well, there's sort of one offline under it.
Oh, online.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people have ever seen one, about 25 years ago there was a man named Jules Smith that traveled across the country who had a set of antique Bibles, and that's where most people saw one. Most people don't know how big they are, they don't know what they look like, they've never actually seen the text before. And so I said, part of what we need is to give people visuals of the history of our Bible. So what we did was we took and digitally reproduced from an original first edition King James Bible and created a facsimile. Now, a facsimile is an exact representation of an original document because it's made from an original document. There are replicas and there are different things of that nature, but this is actually a full facsimile. So what we began by creating the first facsimile of a King James 1611 Bible. Then from there we wanted to create one of all of the steps of the Bible, bringing it up to where we are today. So God has been gracious to give us favor with a lot of different collectors around the world who have these very rare Bibles. And we had a family in our church that purchased for us a special non-destructive cradle camera that allows us to handle these very valuable and very fragile materials and reproduce them and digitally produce them so that we can use computers and software to go back and reclaim the text. So what you're going to get to see today are actually all 7 of the English Reformation translations of the English Bible. So this is the first time all 7 of these facsimiles have been together in one building. So you're going to see a first here. In addition to that, you're going to see a Gutenberg Bible in full facsimile, one of the rarest Bibles in the world today. We'll tell you a little bit of history about those as well. You'll also have a chance today to see something you can't see anywhere else in the world, and that is 5 of the Greek New Testaments of Desiderius Erasmus. They're the Greek translation of the New Testament that was used by the translators to give us our Bible in the English language. So we'll kind of take you through and tell you a little bit about each of the stages in the development of our Bible. What we'll start out with is the very ancient text. I'll tell you the history behind it. If you have a question, please raise your hand. I'll try to spot you out as quick as I can. If I go too fast, you can raise your hand, say slow down. As we go through, we'll go table by table. We have a large group, and so you want to kind of move around a little bit to see things. If you want to go up and touch something on the table, you want to look at something on the table, that's fine. I'll keep talking. You're not going to offend me, but it gives you a chance to go look and see the things that are there. They're there for you to see and to touch and to feel and experience, so please feel perfectly comfortable to do that. People have asked, are these real Bibles? Are these antique Bibles? There are many Bibles here that are very old and very valuable. You don't have access to those. Sorry. But there are also replicas, there are also facsimiles, and there are all kinds of things that you can look at. Feel free to do that. My hope is that as you go through here, it will not only help you to visually connect with the Word of God, but help strengthen your faith in the precious Word of God, infallible, inerrant, divinely preserved Word of the living God. So if you have any questions, please raise your hand. Any comments, any concerns, please feel free to do so. I know we have a lot of folks. I don't know how comfortable you are close to each other. If you want to wear a mask, you can certainly do that if you'd like. If you're uncomfortable too close to someone, please feel free to step back or step around. We'll do everything we can to try to help you to be as comfortable as you can be as we move around the room. Any questions?